Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I'm joined by Karen from Tapping Into Life. She is a life coach and she's based in New Zealand. We're going international everywhere. So hello Karen.
Hi there. Thanks for the opportunity, Polly.
Oh, thank you so much for reaching out and asking to be part of the movement, because that's what we need, more people to share their stories. So I'm going to just sort of get out of the way and let you dive into your story and tell us all about your journey.
Right. Okay. So I'm born and bred in New Zealand, and I'm from a family of three. And I've, had a really happy childhood, pretty general and standard, I should say. And so I guess, went to university, studied social work, and then after that, when I landed my first social work job, it was around about the time that I met my first husband, and called Nick, and we travelled overseas. We went to London and we worked over there, and then we went to Taiwan, of all places, and we were teaching English. Then we came home after that, and life just ticked on. We got engaged prior to coming back to New Zealand, and I went into social work, he went into teaching, and we got married, had 2 children, and the standard white picket fence type thing. And I guess with children life can be quite stressful, and it's always a big balance and a juggle, and so that's kind of, I'm quite interested in that in my life coaching, just juggling it all, that we do as women, as parents. And somewhere along the line, like I said to you in my kind of talk with you, I'm quite protective over my husband's story, but he became unwell, and he got quite unwell, and he ended up taking his own life. So why I reached out to you is because, I was in a situation where I had 2 children. My daughter was nearly turning 6, and my son was turning 4. Mm-hmm. So he was nearly turning 5. And so, yeah, that's quite a massive thing for all of us. So huge tragedy, and huge loss. And so why I reached out to you is because I've come through that journey, and there's so many different forms of tragedy and loss and grief, and so many different people, go through different experiences. So I'm one person, but so I am really passionate now about trying to talk about mental health and mental health resilience, building up your resilience when you're kind of well. So when tragedy hits or crisis hits, you've kind of got that toolbox that you can, tap into. That's where it came from. My whole concept of tapping into life is tapping into your inner resources. And so I can talk to you further about that as well. Mm-hmm. But if there's anyone in the situation that I've been through, I can understand, there's just highs and lows in terms of the grief process. And I feel that I read on Instagram actually this week, there's a beginning of your loss, there's a middle of your loss, and then there's forever. Wow. You don't kind of get over it, you kind of integrate it into your life experience. So especially with the children, and since I did some huge work on myself and went to some courses, I went to a course with other people who had suicide loss with a close family member, so that really helped. And what it helped with was having a person who might have been a daughter or a sibling, and everyone is affected so differently, but I could see that some of these people in the group, they might have lost their parent years and years and years prior, and they were still going through some, obviously, it's a lifelong experience. That's what it gave me insight into. So it was really good going to the group, and they gave me so many great tips in terms of thinking about how I managed the whole situation with my children, and to be, open and honest at their pace, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So
being a part of this group, it helped you not only with your own grief, meeting other people that have been other wives that had lost partners, or other family members, but also trying to understand how your children were going to be processing it.
Yeah. That really helped. And also, obviously, having a social work background, that helped. But I'm telling you, when you're on the other side of maybe being a client, getting the help and support, it's quite different. So it's quite a humbling experience. So I think it's made me professionally, I was always an empathetic social worker, but it's made me realize that tragedy can hit anybody, which is quite scary at any time. But also, by having had that experience, I'm really conscious to live life every single day to the full. Sure. Now, just, life can be so short and can be cut off. And actually, I'm getting a bit older now, so I'm like, every day I see as a treasure. And, you have your ups and down days, of course, or flat days, or days that you're just like treading water. And that's why I'm quite interested in like keeping that whole balance, so you can, just the whole self-care concept.
I thought it was really interesting what you said earlier about building up your toolbox when you're well, because it's very easy, isn't it, to think everything's fine, so you just sort of plod along. And actually, I think I read somewhere recently about the human mind is it is a survival instinct, that we're tuned in to look for danger and bad things because to protect ourselves. And so we focus on bad stuff more than we focus on good stuff, because good stuff's all okay, it's all sorted. But actually, to work on yourself when you're well just gives you that extra strength and resilience if something goes happen,
That's so true. And I think just realizing what makes you happy is so individual to every person, or what makes you tick, your value system, your belief system. And, some things that you might have liked to do in your childhood. Like I have always loved reading, so I just like read, but then I'd start reading more around, like the whole Brené Brown and all of, so many different books. And I kind of believe in serendipity and things coming to you at a certain time, like different books that you would be good for you to read. And so I did that, but also sometimes stepping out and doing something a little different. Like I think exercise and obviously diet and all of that, it does play such a huge part. But you don't always want to go out. It's not stuff that makes you happy. You don't necessarily want to get on your running shoes and go for a run or whatever.
Right.
But I started running with some friends, and they were so much better runners than me. I just thought, no, let's do it. I did have a year off work to look after the children and just to, regroup after my husband's passing. so that was, and I know not everyone can do, have the luxury of doing something like that. But also, I will say, going back to work was helpful as well, because it's a distraction. And you have to kind of, I believe, in a little bit stepping into the person that you want to become and just kind of faking it a little bit, just turn up, just show up, and just go through the motions, and then actually your mindset can change, and it takes you out of that kind of feelings of loss and grief, because you're changing your mindset a little bit and being in a different environment, especially in a professional environment. You just can't afford to do it,
Yeah.
on the floor.
I know exactly what you mean, actually, because I think it was Tony Robbins that says for people that don't know, Tony Robbins is a massive American, and he literally is massive American life coach. I'm sure you're familiar with him, Karen, but he says that if you're feeling down, simply just changing your posture can have a massive effect on how you feel about yourself. So I like your sort of fake it till you make it, because, well, not make it, but when you're dealing with such grief, and it can be so different for all different people, as you mentioned earlier, it sits in the pit of your stomach, and you have to, you don't have to, but when you're ready to think about who you want to be, rather than to like you say, just sort of go there, try and be this person, have the distraction from your grief for those precious few seconds, and
yes, even if it's for a moment in time, like listening to a song or something. But for me, like, I was just about to turn 40 when it happened, and so actually, in some ways, because it was the year that all my girlfriends, well, my close girlfriends, were turning 40, that I was forced out of my comfort zone to go celebrate with them. And actually, that might have been a bit of a blessing in disguise.
Right.
But also, I went out shopping. I was, I had to kind of reinvent myself as a new kind of single widow, but, a single mum, all those stereotypes. And it was like, I'm not going to be defined by these stereotypes or what's happened, but just embracing a new me, really. And now I see that every day is a new beginning. Every day you can actually redefine yourself. And it's all society's labels anyway. But and that's why I say about tapping in, it's just about, maybe for someone going through loss, is your own kind of, I say game plan or whatever, but it's your own life path. You can't compare yourself, that one person seems to be here and one person seems to be over here and you're wherever. It's like you're not functioning actually at the same rate, level, because you're having to process so much information that even just sitting and staring and looking out a window for however long you want, but you can't do that forever. You've got to but some of the things that take courage, even for me, walking into the school and dropping my children off, because you feel like, oh my gosh, does everyone know? And you can't help it. It's natural. You worry about what everyone feels sorry for you, and you just get a bit sick of people feeling sorry for you. You're like, I'm not that person, so I refuse to kind of be defined by stereotypes or be a victim. But also allowing the grief, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a complex thing.
Because it affects so many people in so many different ways, doesn't it? And you can almost, when you are trying to make these positive changes in your life, you can almost then feel guilty as well as the grief, because you're, the fact that I'm trying to do more with my life now, does that make me look like I don't care anymore, that I've lost this special person? And
Oh, huge, especially with social media, because you don't post on social media that you've been crying, you know, for however long. You're not going to put a post of that. But I remember, like I said, it was my 40th, few months after his passing, and I put on lots of like photos of me going out having a party, and now I'm like, oh, that was a bit, and you just worry, was it bad taste, or, but you just can't look back really. You've got to drum to your own beat, and of course be sensitive to other people. And luckily I've got a wonderful relationship with my late husband's family, so they understand, I'm sure. Yeah, but everyone grieves at different times, different paces, in different ways, and it's just about understanding that. And even me starting to speak out now, that's even got its own, emotions, and am I doing the right thing? And but I just feel if you're doing things from the heart and for the right reason, and if I can help one person, or that they might identify and think, oh, maybe I could do that. Like I did meditation, reading, running, connecting with the community, family and friends. And at one point I had so many people coming to visit that it was actually too intense, that I just wanted to hang out with my really close friends and family, and reach out when, I wanted to other friends. So yeah, it's quite complex. Yeah.
And like you said earlier, it doesn't end, does it? There's the beginning, the middle, and then the forever. So even though from the out, someone watching this video now might think, oh well, she looks like she's got it made, she's got it together. There can be little trigger points that are just going to make you think of your husband, or and set you off at any moment. So
yeah.
I know I've already said it, but I do love what you said about building on when you're coping, building on your toolkit of coping strategies. So that's
yeah. And I will say, even because a year after my husband passed away, I decided to go online dating, and met my now husband straight away. So that was another thing, meeting someone quite soon after.
Right.
But even that obviously was a huge leap of faith to actually think, okay, let's go dating again. And little did I know that I'd meet the most wonderful man that we've gone on and had another. I've had another child, baby, gorgeous toddler. And so yeah, it's that's been absolutely just the most hugest blessing. Yeah, but it's yeah.
The thing that really stands out for me from what you've said is you using your power of choice. You're very conscious that you could potentially upset other people, that they think that, like you say, stereotypes, oh well, she should be in wearing black and in the back room staring out the window for the next 10 years or whatever. But you very consciously sort of decided, okay, that's what people could think, but this is my life, and I've already lost one person, and life's too short. I need to live my life, make my choices, and not to hell with everyone else, but actually, I'm not hurting anyone. I'm living my life to the best of my ability, and I love that.
Yeah, thank you. And also I'd reflect on that it wasn't like my decision. It's not like a divorce, not that a divorce is everyone's, there might be one person who didn't want a divorce, but it was not like a divorce, and it wasn't anything, there's no coming back from it. That's a suicide, is there's no coming back, there's no questions that can be revisited, there's no revisitation, so it's like, okay, I can't do actually anything about this. And what am I going to do with it? And it's that whole premise around, okay, life is 10% what happens. What's that quote? 10% about what happens to you and 90% how you react to it, or something like that. So that's what's led me from social work into life coaching, is that I think mindset and the use of affirmations and meditation and just visualization, and especially mindset and mental health, and just for everyone generally, if they want to reach their goals or leverage yourself to the next level, whatever that might look like. Has to be, big flash house or whatever, but so I think mindset plays a huge part. So I'm hoping to help people maybe through their transition, like some life transitions that they might be going through, or I think just coaching. Anyone can use a coach. Anyone can, help someone become a bit reflective on where they want to go and how they're going to get there. So I'm hoping I can offer, people some of the things that I've learned along the way.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what's led me to it.
I totally agree with you about coaching. It's such a valuable experience, and you can really sort of uncover some thought processes which you're not even necessarily aware of on a daily basis. They're just the product of your life so far. You've got these beliefs about who you are, where you're going, what you should be doing, and talking to a coach can really help explore those thoughts and feelings, because some of them can be holding you back, like self-limiting beliefs, which are just not true, I totally I would recommend anyone talk to a coach. But essentially this is what led you to become a coach, isn't it? Because you already had your previous career, and then the self-development, the journey that you took yourself on after your husband passed away. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing now and helping other people if that hadn't happened to you.
Yeah. And I know, for anyone going through any pain, it's like, or, grief and loss, it's like, I'd rather not have had that experience to learn and get the benefits from it, or I don't want to learn the lesson. That's just too painful. But unfortunately, sometimes, things do happen in life, and so it's about somehow turning a bad situation, even if you can't avoid that it's happened, but turning it around into something maybe to help others. Not into, I think saying go into something positive might be a bit of a stretch, but no. And it's just such a huge, interesting area, coaching. So it's been even more self-development, getting into that sphere and space, which is awesome. After I did go back to work, I did go back to my same job with the same wonderful colleagues, and that was actually really wonderful. But after having my toddler, my baby is now a toddler, it's time to transition into a new career, so it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've already sort of talked about it quite a lot. I usually sort of say at the end of an interview, what would your advice be to someone going through? And it's so difficult because, like you say, it is all different for everybody. But if you were going to have to distill it to sort of 3 main points that you felt helped you, what would you tell someone that was in the same situation now?
I think connecting with friends, good friends, and the exercise is actually, for me, was huge. And for me, it was reading different materials, because it gets you out of your own mind and it gives you further skills. And finally, just not comparing yourself to anyone else, because you're just maybe stopping for a while and slowing down, but it doesn't matter. Take your time. there's no hurry in grief, and there's no right or wrong way to grieve. It's a human experience. It's so personal. And yeah, just be kind to yourself. Just be kind. Go out shopping too.
Brilliant. I like that.
Treat yourself.
Yeah. Karen, thank you so much for joining me today. And I know it's what it must be about 9:30 for you now over in New Zealand. 10:30 here in the UK in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. It's a difficult story for you, you know, and I really appreciate that. So round off the video. If you like this video, please do hit like and subscribe, and you'll get notifications when the next video is uploaded. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook if you search @Be Glad Movement. And if you have a story that you'd like to share, please do get in touch. It doesn't matter if it's a story that's similar to someone else's, because I really do feel that your story and your voice can reach someone and help them when they need it most. So get in touch, and I'd love to hear from you. We'll look forward to seeing you in another episode. Many thanks.